welcome to the Neil Haley Show here on the ProVision Brokerage Celebrity segment. And I'm excited to welcome the program again, Eric Couch. Eric, how are you? Part two. We are
Part
so
two.
lucky. We're so lucky to get part two.
That is right. So we are back with Les Brown, quite possibly the world's foremost motivational speaker. I know he is for me, and he is for, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people around the world. Just look at his Facebook page. There's well over 1 million followers because of the impact that this man has in so many lives, literally living a legacy every day. So we're back with part two. Les, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Eric?
Absolutely. So
And
where we finished off last week.
I know exactly where we finish off. Let me see where you go with it. Go ahead, because
Eric,
I want you to know I'm coming for you. Come on, where you thought we left off.
We're gonna bring it. So today, I want to start. I want to start with the question of worth and value and understanding, because so many people, like I had mentioned, I struggled with this of just, what is my worth? When I think of the word deserve, and you've got your speech, right, of you deserve. When I think of what I deserve, especially, as someone who is a Christian, as a believer, the Bible defines us as a saint, not as a sinner, right? But a lot of the time we still define ourselves as, when I think of what I deserve, I don't think of positive things. I think of negative things, right? I see the sin within me. And that's not just limited to Christians or non-Christians or religious or non-religious. The world as a whole struggles with self-worth, right? And one of the discussions I was having with a friend a week or so ago was exactly about that, of just struggling to realize that I'm worthy of success because God's given me the talent, right? It's not about for me, right? And this is where I'm looking for your insight. For me, it's not about, a name it and claim it, God owes me anything, of more so it's about, the Lord's allowed me to get a PhD in certain things in life, and I'm still working at minimum wage because that's how I see myself. I don't see myself with
we need to change that.
talents.
We need to change that. We have to change
Right.
that vision, because you believe in the word. The word also says that most of all, I want you to prosper and be in good health. The word also says, that when you talk about the word sin, Jesus spoke Aramaic, and sin means falling short of the mark. So it's not about doing bad things. It's about being less than what we were born to do. We're created in the likeness and image of God. We've been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth. You invest the time, the money, and the energy to study, and you have a PhD. You deserve paying more. I mean, people should pay you more because you put in the work. You don't get paid by the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. And let me share with you why this is so important. For years, I thought just like you did. And I had to interrupt that thinking because of the fact that I felt that what I had to say did not have that much value. And that's not true. That when you work like you have worked, when you go through some stuff, I did a talk this morning and said, you got to go through something to get something. That there's a price, there's value on that. When you have words and knowledge and experiences that can change people's lives, you can't put a price tag on that.
No
way. And so why is that some drug dealer who's passing some substance in our community, destroying lives, earn more than you? And that had to bring me to reality, because at that time I was earning $500 an hour and coming out of working for the Miami Sanitation Department now, and the most I'd made up to that point, like $55,000 a year. Now I'm earning $70,000 when I speak in the US an hour, and $225,000 when I speak out of the country. Just got back from Dubai before the lockdown. And what I had to work on, what my motivational messages do basically three things. I'm going to send you Choosing Your Future. One, to expand our vision of our mental conditioning and circumstances. That's number one. Number two, to decrease the level of unconscious self-loathing, because most of us don't feel worthy. We live in a world where we're told more about our limitations and our potentials and our mistakes than the things that we need to empower us and to remind us that we're God's gift to the world. Life is God's gift to us, and how we live our lives is our gift to God. And three, to create an experience for people that will decrease the suicide rate, that will allow them to say, if there's no job available out here, you have the ability to create your own job. You have the ability to create wealth. I'll never forget, I was teaching a class in Liberty City in Miami, where I was born and raised. And so one of my former classmates was in the newspaper. He was a drug dealer. His name was Quartz. And Quartz was earning, according to the Miami Herald, $9 million a year. And so one of the runners, drug runners for him, said, Mr. Brown, you said that we can achieve all things through Christ who strengthens us. And I said, yes. He said, are you a millionaire? And I said, yes. I said, I got my health, my children are healthy, my family, my mother's still here. Yes. And all the kids applauded. And then he asked, do you have $1 million in the bank? And I said, no. And he said, oh. And he sat down and the room got quiet. I had lost control. Now, here's what I learned from that experience, that we have the ability to do more. Herein my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit, not a little fruit, not teeny weeny fruit, but a lot of fruit.
That's right.
Because of the money that I can generate, when I get a family member call, I can do more than say, God is able. Oh, just give it to him. I can do more than pray. I can write the check. When my mother said she wanted a home, I bought her a home. Wow. Because God has given me the ability to do that. And so you are living a misplaced life because you were chosen. You were called. As much as you've chosen this path, you were chosen for this path. Neil was chosen for this path. We had other choices. As Robert Frost would say, two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and I selected the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. You've decided to live a life that will outlive you because of you, because of your voice, because of your example, because of the kind of man that you are, the husband, the father, that the two of you are making the world a better place. Judge a man not by what he does that he doesn't have to do. And to judge the true quality of a man is what he does when nobody's looking. You guys aren't looking for praise. You're not looking to be paid for everything that you do. But here's what I have learned. People beg for what they want. And they buy what they want. And they beg for what they need. My granddaughter said, Papa, would you buy me a ticket for Beyonce? I said, how much is it? $600. No! For entertainment? You've never paid a dime to come see me. You think I'm going to pay $600 for you to be entertained?
Yeah.
Baby, if you have $600 You want to invest that in your mind, not in a concert, but we have an entertainment-driven culture. And so I believe equal is as equal does, and that the work that you're doing, when you think about the fact they're saying we need, at least you do, not me, because I'm 75, a minimum of $1 million when you retire. Why? Because things happen. I have one medication called Xtandi, $23,000 a month. If I didn't have the money to pay for that, I would be out of here. $23,000 a month.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay? 95% of the people who filed bankruptcy last year did so because of medical expenses. As we get older, things happen to you and things happen to the people you care about. My brother, my twin brother, wounded in Vietnam, PTSD, he suffers from that. He's calling me and going through an anxiety attack. If I didn't have the money to say, listen to me, Wesley, you don't have to go back to that job. It's too stressful for you. You don't need to do that. I got you. You take care of your wife who's on dialysis. You are too stressed and overwhelmed, going back and forth with all the challenges that she's facing. Caregivers die many times before the people that they are taking care of. I will pay for someone to come give you some relief because you are stressed out of your mind. And he's making this weird sound, where he was so stressed.
Oh my gosh.
He makes this sound. But if I didn't have the money to help my brother who got a disease when he was in Vietnam, second tour, and he's allergic to the antidote. Wow. And the military is not stepping in to help him. But if I didn't work so that my brother would not lose his mind and be stressed out, have a heart attack, or have a stroke, going back and forth a minimum of 4 times a month, taking his wife to the hospital because of her medical complications. Wow. He'll be in serious trouble. Yeah. And so the Bible says, watch as well as pray. And it's better to have money and not need it than to need it and not have it. And I can tell you unequivocally, I'll never forget when I took my mother to the hospital and she was suffering with breast cancer. And the lady didn't say, hello, how you doing? May I help you, ma'am? With any compassion. Here's a woman who raised 7 children that she didn't give birth to. The lady just looked up and asked, what kind of insurance do you have? Yeah. I said, she has Les Brown Unlimited. Provide my mother what she needs. I can write you a check, I can give you a credit card, or I give you cash. You just tell me what works for you.
Yeah.
So Les, see, this is just amazing to hear, Les, that money can be used wisely and for the right things. And so when you figured that out, you knew you had to get paid what you're worth. Pretty much, it sounds like to me.
Absolutely. And so we are taught, Lord, I'm not worthy. We are worthy. You don't get, and Jim Rohn said this, you don't get paid by the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. Mm-hmm. That's what you get paid for. What kind of value? That's why when we look at what's happening right now in the economy, the people who have a skill that's needed, the people who go above and beyond being average, but found something that they love, that's their calling, that they master, that make them stand out. The people who see themselves providing a service, the greatest among you will be your servant. I can't tell you the number of free speeches that I've given, but I had no idea that as a result of my doing that, I was perfecting this craft and that people started paying me. I didn't ask them.
Right.
They started paying me. How much do you charge? And I'll never forget. I didn't know what to say. I said, how much have you allocated? And they said, $5,000. I didn't answer immediately. They said, are you still there? I didn't start talking immediately because I'd probably start talking in unknown tongues.
Right.
I said, that'll do for the first time.
That'll do.
Yeah. So no, you are worth it. There are people out here speaking to sell, making millions of dollars, running circles around me. I speak to change lives. That's what my goal is. To orchestrate an experience, to create a significant emotional event where people come to themselves and decide to live a different life. I should be compensated better than somebody who's just speaking to sell with some hype and neurolinguistic programming and group hypnosis. I'm not knocking anybody that does all of that. But my prayer before I speak is more of thee, less of me.
Yeah.
Here I am, Lord. Use me as a channel. I'll never forget, I was looking at television one night and these comedians were on and they were just using profanity back and forth. And I was looking at them down my nose saying, what thuggish mindset, what kind of gutter mindset would get on television and represent themselves like this? No sense of decency. And I heard a word, and the word was, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Elijah, when he ran, when the word or rumor was out that he was going to be killed, he was hiding in a cave. God didn't say, what are you doing in there? He asked, what are you doing here? That implied God was with thee. What am I doing on this coach? Les Brown, I've given you a sense of decency. I have spared you from poverty. I gave you Mamie Brown to adopt you. You are here because of my grace and mercy. I gave you your voice. I knew you before you knew yourself. And you're sitting on a couch watching them. You should be on television and they should be on a couch watching you. What are you doing here on this couch looking at them? There's never been a statue erected to a critic. They work their behinds off because they believe in what they're doing and they want it on a larger platform so millions of people can see it. You use scripture wherever you go. Do you love me enough to take my word around the world like they do? What are you doing here talking about them?
Yeah.
Wherever you're pointing, you have three fingers pointing at yourself.
Yes.
And I broke down and cried. I said, I'm sorry, Lord. I'm sorry. I'll do better. I'll do better. I promise you. You gave me my voice. I promise you. If I got through that last procedure of radiation and I could talk, I will serve you. And you kept your word, and I'm going to keep my word, and I'm going to serve you.
Wow.
Whom shall I send,
because
and
of his
who will
grace
go for
and
me?
mercy.
And I said, here am I, send me.
Yes.
Right? How beautiful are the feet of those who bring the good news.
Yes.
And you bring it every day, whether it's with scripture or just telling stories that people don't necessarily realize comes out of the word. It's just speaking life. And God is life. Right?
Yes, and what we're doing is ministers preach the gospel about Jesus. We preach the gospel that Jesus preached.
That's right.
They sell the messenger, we sell his message.
Yeah.
And our goal is to be not just speakers of it, but the embodiment of it, and to live it every day in what we do and how we show up.
Yeah. So another question that came up from a dear friend of mine who's
So I'm on your wife's side. I just want you to know you married up.
oh, big time, big time. And you know what? My wife's the one who helped me work through that when I was struggling with the I deserve, because I really did, right? And
Yeah.
she just worked through that, and she speaks a lot of wisdom, and I am so grateful for my wife. We've been married a little over 20 years now.
Yeah.
Um, and one thing I was so amazed when I met my wife, because as you know, right, when you marry, you don't just marry them, you marry the family.
Yeah.
And it's the first family I've ever known in my life. And after 20 years of marriage, I can still say I've been in it for 20 years, and I've met, the parents, the grandparents, the cousins, the aunts, the uncles. We've been to family reunions. I've yet to hear of or meet a single person in the family that's ever been divorced.
Mm.
Where does that, that was just God's just grace in my life, because my family is the opposite. And I love them, and they're wonderful people, but it's something that's been, generationally.
We don't know that. We don't know that. It's, I believe in this. It's better to be alone than to wish you were.
Well, yeah.
Because there are people who don't have the courage to live their truth, who don't have the courage to say, you know what? This is not working.
Right.
This is painful. There are people who are dying together rather than living together.
You're absolutely
that's why we're
right.
told to judge not according to appearances. There are people who are dying together rather than living together. So that's why I just look and observe, because but for the grace of God, there goes, I'm just working to get my stuff together.
And my point's not anything other than, had it been up to me, we wouldn't have made it either. But my wife refused to give up on me.
Yes,
and she loved. It wasn't about laws. It wasn't about it's never happened in our family, because we've had our moments, right? And
yes.
If it was up to me, we probably wouldn't have made it. But by the grace of God, she just wouldn't give up and wouldn't bite when I would throw out the I'm not good enough. Why could anybody love me to stick around? Why would anybody stick around with me?
Eric, I did that. Why? How can any woman love me when the woman who had me walked away? Yeah. How could you love me? And if you stay here, I'm going to conduct myself in such a way that you're going to have to leave.
There's this fear that I have to sabotage because I can't believe that it could be true. So I tried to sabotage our marriage for over a decade.
And I'm so glad that you weren't successful.
Man,
I am so glad. Yes.
And it's truly.
Some people come into your life for a reason, some for a season, and some for a lifetime. You are fortunate to be among those who have a wife for a lifetime. You are fortunate.
I am.
That when you wake up in the morning, that you've got someone who said, till death do us part.
Yeah.
Oh man, God bless you.
Yeah.
So Les, let me take that point you made about sometimes how surrounding certain people, you die together where it's not working. Where do you see that? What is the reasoning? How do you work with that for couples that are in a bad shape and they really can't fix it?
Yeah.
The thing is, Neil, you got to know when to go. You remember that song? You got to know when to hold them.
Yes.
Kenny Rogers.
Yes. Yeah. I had to make a decision. It's the reason that the Bible tells us to be of good courage. It takes courage to leave a relationship that is no longer fulfilling and no longer happy. When, as B.B. King would say, when the thrill is gone. It takes courage to do that. And most people don't conjure up the courage to do that. And they're living an inauthentic life. It's been said that many people die at age 25 and don't get buried until they're 65. And so right now, the divorce rate is going up 40%. Why? Because there are people who are locked down And for the first time, they're looking at each other. And they're now realizing, and the average married couple talk less than 3 minutes a week. 3 minutes a week. And so now you can't be sitting around the house looking at your phone all day or be on the computer. And now you are face to face. And now you're seeing somebody that you never saw before. I'm reminded of a lady I spoke in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she's walking past her husband and she grabbed him and said, "Where is he?" He said, "What are you talking about? Where is he? This man I said, until death do us part. Where is he? What have you done with him? Where is he?" And he was startled because this man that she was asking, "Where is he?" This man slapped her at the kitchen table because he felt that she disagreed with him. And he used it as an excuse. "Well, I saw my daddy beat my mama and she never left him." And he went on to abuse her mentally and emotionally and physically.
Wow.
And so on this day, she decided, "I'm out of here." But before leaving, she wanted to know what happened to that guy who pursued her.
Mhm.
The gentleman, the polite guy who opened the door, who didn't use profanity in her presence. This guy who carried himself in such a nice way that she met in church, who knew the Lord. But after they got married, somebody else showed up. It's called delayed enlightenment. This thing called life, it ain't no joke. It's challenging.
Mhm.
Well, we call it, when you're dating, you don't have all the other expenses of everything. So you're able to afford a full-time PR division, right? But then once you get married, things get a little tight. So the first thing to go is that whole PR department that's building in all the stuff, right? So that was, I can tell you, when Catherine and I fell apart in 2015, and I mean, the wheels came off. And it wasn't one thing or two things. It was 100 things. And it was stuff every single month, every month for like 8 months, 9 months, something major happened. One of them being my dad, who I was estranged from, moves in overnight with Alzheimer's. And we didn't talk a whole lot before. And now he's living with us full time, and he's catching the things on fire. He's flooding rooms. He's setting off the alarm 5, 6, 7 times a night. That was just 1 month.
And she didn't sign up for that.
Flooding the house, all kinds of things, breaking her back, falling off a horse. I mean, it was just relentless, and we finally cracked. But I can tell you, by the grace of God, we were referred to an organization called, it's a website called marriagehelp.org. And it's a 16-week course of just teaching you how to forgive, not just the other, but how to forgive yourself, right? Because there's so much subconscious, kind of like when you talk about the iceberg, 10% above water, 90% below water. Way more than what's ever said in a marriage is not said. And it's, we're giving off communication that we don't ever realize that we're giving off. And it was amazing when I started drawing a circle around myself and focusing on just everything inside the circle, right? Which is me, and letting God focus on me and change my heart. It was amazing how Catherine changed, when I changed, because the emotion, the vibe, the response that I gave off was now given the benefit of the doubt rather than judging and being critical of.
You're making decisions in behalf of love rather than judging each other. You made decisions in behalf of love. You let love have the final word.
Right. And we learned a new language.
Not forgetting. Forgiveness is remembering without anger.
Yeah.
Yes. And so
forgiveness is not reconciliation.
Last word. God is love, and he who dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in them. You made that decision. You came to yourself, the real you. and she got her husband back.
She did. And it wasn't overnight. And it was because we were both so broken that we were willing to do anything. And we seen a path that had worked for thousands of couples. And it's like, if you just stick with it, you can make it. Not everybody does.
Right. It's a process.
It will work. Yeah.
Yes, it's a process. And you have to be persistent, and you got to be willing to persevere. You got to be willing to do the work. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Notice it says works. That's external work and internal work. When you commit the works, then you will have some major breakthroughs. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, I was, something came up the other day about prayer, so that in Dallas, they were having, it's called Pray Dallas. And they just said, the mayor of Dallas just said, we want everybody to stop and pray. And, I'm thinking about that. And I was like, I'll share that post. That's a good thing. We need to pray, right? And it hit me. I don't think I've ever heard this before. I'm sure many other people have thought of it, but the word revival, right? Revival. Well, right in the center of revival is I. I'm in the center of a revival, so it starts with me. Mm-hmm. So I've got to let the Lord change my heart. If there's gonna be revival coming out of me, it's got to start with me. And I was like, wow, that's a really cool. Hey, I am right in the center of revival, so it's got to start there.
Good revelation.
Yeah, so it was cool. Neil, I've got a couple others, but
yeah, I want you to keep asking questions. Eric has a lot more questions, and appreciate Les taking part two. I think we're really making a nice connection. We're here with Les Brown, and go ahead, Eric, with another question.
Okay, so one of my friends who has found pretty wild success almost overnight, and is using it well. But one of the questions she asked me is, okay, how to work hard and not get obsessed with success, right? The line between hustle and stewardship. Or as I put it, how to accept the gift without making it bigger than the giver.
That's a very good question. If I had my life to live over again, I will build my business around my family, not my family around my business.
Yeah.
You see, that I put my business first because I didn't want my children to experience the hardship that I went through. I didn't want them to go to college and graduate with student loans. I did not want to, if my mother called me and said, Leslie, I need some help. I need my prescription. I didn't want to say, oh, Mama, God is able. I can't afford it, okay? I wanted to be able to take care of my mother. And I did. I took care of her. I wanted to be able to buy her home. I did. And my mother was a woman of great faith. I never forget, I came home one day, I talk about this in my book, and I encourage you gentlemen to read it. And there was a window in the living room leading up against a wall. Obviously a building, a house was torn down, and she got someone to bring a window inside the house and lean it up against the wall. So I said, Mama, what is this window doing here? She said, Leslie, you said that you're going to build me a house or buy me a house. This way, we won't have to have a window for the living room because I already got one. This came out of a house that was torn down. So I can have somebody to pick it up and keep it. I said, no, Mama, no. I'm in a house with windows. Oh my God! But that show got me speeding up to get the house for her before she went out there and found a toilet.
I got some studs today, honey.
That's right.
I found some good flooring.
Right, but Mama was something else. but the we we're living in a time, things the one thing about Corona is teaching us, it confirms what Forrest Gump said. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. That's all I got to say about that.
That's all.
Because we never saw this coming.
Never.
We
Yeah.
never saw this coming. And so now when I came back from Dubai, all my speaking engagements were gone.
Yeah.
So now I had to learn how to throw my net on the other side.
Mhm.
And I'm doing 3 to 4 virtual speaking engagements from home. And I'm able to spend more time with my grandchildren and my great-grandsons and my children and focus more on my health. And so that as we look at this time, God is in the midst of this with all the chaos, all the mixed messages, all the confusion. This gap, my daughter said, gaps are from God. I've spent more time quiet in prayer and meditation, journaling and writing, and saying, Lord, I promised you, when they went in to radiate my spine, and they said that I might not be able to speak, I promised you when I come out, if I could speak, I will speak for you.
Yes.
And I'm going to keep my part of the deal. Just direct me. Let me know what I need to do. I lived the first part of my life for you. I want to finish strong. The first part of my life, I lived for me. The second part, I want to finish strong living for you.
Yeah.
I want to keep my part of the deal. And I know that I'm here because of His grace and mercy. I know that He gave me my voice and everything that I've experienced. I had 2 guns drawn on me, and each person said, I just couldn't pull the trigger.
Wow.
And I said to a friend of mine named Twitty, I said, I'm so glad you didn't. And he said, man, you need to change your clothes. I said, why? He said, you just peed on yourself. I said, yeah, you somebody pull a gun on you by their girlfriend, you a pee too. I was so embarrassed. He said, I just couldn't shoot you, man. He said, I just couldn't. He said, I'm in love. He said, I'm so sorry. I just couldn't shoot you. I said, don't be sorry. I'm glad you couldn't shoot me.
Well, God knew who Les Brown would be. So, Eric, I know you have more questions, but before I'm going to throw a question over to Eric in a way and say, how has Les been a inspiration to you, Eric?
Oh man, a lot of ways. Just for one, living directly, bringing your faith into your message, right? The ministry into the message, and that's something that I'm passionate about, and hopefully Neil can attest, right? I bring it up,
Yes.
but I love the way you're just direct about it, and just, this is who I am. This is how God's made me, and that is huge. It's absolutely huge.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's a million quotes, and there's been a handful today, but I'll tell you most recently how you rocked my world, and I have not stopped talking about it. So you and I have a similar friend and acquaintance called Manny Lopez.
Yes.
Yes, we do. And
yes,
you were on with Manny last week, and he brought on a caller onto the Zoom call named Lori. And what I watched in about 3 to 5 minutes, shook me to my core, and I still I hadn't been able to process what actually happened on this call. So Neil, I'll fill you in.
Okay.
So Les is on with Manny, and then Manny brings on a gal named Lori, and and Les says, Lori, what do you want to do? And she's like, I want to change lives. He's like, no. What's your story? And she said, it got to the point where I was underneath the car at a church, so drunk that I couldn't stand. It's like, whoo, that's pretty low, right? And then Les just starts, okay, and hers was, she wants to impact lives. And let's like, okay, so let's take your story and make it your message. And he starts going out with, okay, first thing you got to do is this, and second is this, and third is this, and fourth is this. Now those, it was, I don't remember what it was. It was like, listen, observe, and then whatever. But when he was all done, and I mean, it's this quick, literally as fast as I'm talking, Les is going and he's telling her these things. And he's like, and those 4 points is listen, ... L-O-R-I, Lori. That's your message. And we're going to call it the Lori Project or something like that. Now you can write a book on the Lori deal. You can have a podcast on it. You're going to have your whole theme. And then you can be a public speaker. You can go on TV. You can turn it into a membership site. And that's how you're going to monetize it. And literally, Neil, the whole thing was less than 5 minutes.
Okay.
There's no way Les got any advance notice, because I mean, I was just like, I probably told this story a dozen times in the last week, because I'm still like shook to my toes on how does somebody how do you do that?
Charge it all to God.
I mean, that was amazing.
You know what was fascinating is what she did with it. The next day, she made dramatic changes in her life, in her website, in her life, and how she's moving forward. It has been amazing. My daughter teach GAPSA from God. It was an amazing time that we spent together. Please have Manny share that with Neil, because he can send it to you. I had him to send it to me. And
it was awesome.
Emails from people from around the world saying, I want you to coach me and help me to tell my story like you did, Lori.
See, that's a great point. I'm going to jump in this story. I'm working with a client. I do some PR work and some other stuff, and he is an addiction expert. And he's talking about he can cure all these addictions, spiritual addictions. I mean, any addiction through spiritual means. And he comes up with all these different things. And I said, you got to tell me your story. And we're still crafting that story, because he always looked at, well, this is what I can cure, but not my story. And I said, we got to know your story to understand why you want to help people and not be addicted anymore. So that's an important thing, is the story. If you can't tell your story of what truly makes you passionate and why you wake up every day, no one's going to buy into it. No one's going to buy anything.
Neil, you're right, because when people listen to you, they're asking 3 questions. Who are you?
Right.
What do you have? And why should I care? And if you can't say that succinctly in a way that will create bonding and create credibility and confidence, people are not going to deal with you. You're absolutely right.
Because
so
I'm a former, I was going to say, and then I'll let you go, Eric. I'm a former professional wrestler, so I learned it all from pro wrestling. Because if we go out to the crowd, I would go to a town, and I'm a big guy, legitimate 6'10", close to 7 feet tall, 300 pounds, and the crowd's dead. And these guys don't know how to work the crowd. I go out there and in 2 minutes get everyone to hate me when I'm the bad guy, or get everyone to love me because I get the bad guy to get the heat. But ultimately, you are able to tell a story in life, just like you tell a story in wrestling or a story in an interview. And if you're able to tell that story, people, you lose them. And you can tell when it flatlines and when it's time to close. And that's the same thing with any story. If you don't have the product or service that people want to buy into that story, you're not going to sell it.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I agree 100%.
All right, go ahead, Eric.
So back to the storytelling. Les, how does somebody get with you to to have you, like, you know, I want you to show me how to do the story like that. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, they can
So
email me lesbrown77@gmail.com. 7 is my lucky number. lesbrown77@gmail.com. It's I tell people, put your money where your mouth is, because if anybody told me since the time that I started to now, I've generated over $65 million, and I've been able to contribute to and to make a difference in millions of lives, people in Africa, in India, and different areas here in the United States. You know, I wear a Mickey Mouse watch. I don't even have a car. Money, it just serves a purpose to be able to do God's work for me. I'm not a materialistic guy, but you can do so much more. I have someone. I was in this hotel, and this lady saw me. She said, "Oh no, my God!" And she started screaming. She said, "It's you." And I said, "What's wrong?" And she was smiling like this. I said, "Do you know me from speaking?" She said, "No, you spoke at my graduation. I had to give a speech, and I had a tooth that was turned like this, sideways. And you looked at my tooth, and you asked me, 'Are you going to college like that?' And I said, 'Yes.' And she said, 'You gave me your number, said, call me. Go to a dentist and call me, and I will have them fix your tooth so that you don't have to go to school like that.' She said, 'You don't even know my name.' I said, 'I know.' And I remember the incident, though, and she
yeah,
said she did, and she showed me her smile. If I didn't have the money, I couldn't do that. And when she got it done, I said, 'I'm so glad.' She said, 'What do I owe you?' I said, 'Nothing. Just smile everywhere you go and graduate from college.' And so,
that's right.
yeah, and so, so we can do so much more, so
Yes.
much
You
more.
can.
We are blessed. And I feel blessed just talking with the two of you.
Well, I definitely, and I'm just very fired up to hear different things and points you've given us today. Eric has legacy question. Is there a legacy question? Les has kind of lived his legacy in part 1 and part 2. Do you have a
Yeah,
legacy question?
everything with Les is living a legacy.
Yeah, yeah, truly.
Yeah, but I'll go ahead and ask, right? Just so we can cover our bases. I think this whole thing has been legacy, but Les, what's the legacy that you want to leave behind? Whether it be business, family, faith, what do you want to be remembered for? How do you want to live your legacy?
Good question. I told my kids, and they asked, "What do you want said about you?" I said, I want them to know that I aspired to inspire until I expired. Very simple. That's all I wake up to do. As Leo Tolstoy, the Russian writer, he said, "As I face inevitable death, what in the meaning and purpose of my life that will not be undone or destroyed when I'm gone?" Neil, Eric, the people's lives that you change, the people's lives that you interrupt their vision of themselves, the people who you give hope and give them a reason to have mental resolve to show up another day for God. That work, the people who you influence, that work, and the people whose lives they touch will not be undone or destroyed when you're gone, because you're living a life that will outlive you.
So powerful. Wow. Unless you already told how people can contact you, latest projects for us before we let you go.
I'm doing one-on-one coaching with a few people. I work with a small number of 14 people, because 7 is my lucky number. And so I work with them how extract their story, teach them how to organize it, and train them how to deliver it. and help them to launch their career with my name and reputation. I could have gotten here faster if the guys at the top did not see me as competition, but there's enough out here for everybody.
There
And so I
is.
said, Lord, when I make it, I want you to make me so unselfish and not threatened by anyone, and to help others to be exposed and be able to do your work faster on steroids. It took me years to get here, but I'm still here. At 75, I still got the fire in my belly.
Definitely
And
do.
you're hungry.
And I'm hungry, yes.
He's hungry. He's
So,
hungry.
so for the person that wants to learn
My
from you,
one-on-one
work with you,
coaching, they email me, lesbrown77@gmail.com. And I'd like for them to order my new book, I Am Hungry. It's called You've Got to Be Hungry. The Greatness Within to Win. You've got to be hungry. They can get that on Amazon. You've got to be hungry. That's my new book. And I guarantee you, if they say they saw it on Neil and take a picture of it and send it to you, Neil, I'll send them $200 worth of motivational materials that will dramatically change their life along with the book. All right.
All right.
Called
and
You've
there's all
Gotta
kinds
Be
of stuff
Hungry.
at your website, right?
Yes, we got stuff at our website. But the main thing right now, it took me 21 years to get this book out. And I now know it was for this time.
Yeah.
People need it at this time. When you read it, you're going to call me back and say, you know what? We got to talk, my brother. We got to talk again.
That's perfect. So then once they take the picture of the book, they email you it, and then so that's the offer. That's an awesome.
Yeah. Take a picture of the book and we will send them we can email it to them. Technology eliminates geography. It makes it so simple. A series of motivational materials that dramatically change their lives.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate the time, Les.
I appreciate you so much. I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. This has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy, and your pride and joy.
You're so awesome. What a way to say goodbye. Again, this was the Provision Brokerage Celebrity segment and living a legacy. And I appreciate you guys.
Thanks,
care.
Les. Thanks,
Bye
guys.
for now.
Bye.